Hello, and welcome to the end of reviewing a full series. I have not done one of these really properly, and here we are. The Empire of Gold. The David trilogy has been completed. Now there is the River of Silver, a short story collection, but we're going to keep that hush hush. I'll read that at some point in the future. Firstly, I would just like to say thank you for everyone who has come along on this journey. It is nice to be able to have like the Discord conversations talking about this series. I look forward to doing it for other series. The comments and everything, people coming back after reading it or waiting for the new videos and everything. It's been very nice, the experience of actually going through a series in real time with people. This is just a general reminder that the buddy reads we've got going on is that this month of April, East of Eden is the Discord buddy read. We have, alongside that, the Two Towers in the continuation of the Lord of the Rings read along. That's between April to June. Anywhere between there, we'll be talking about it. And in May, we will be reading Northern Lights, the first book in his Dark Materials by Philip Pullman, which is a read along with a few different people. Grace, who would have thunk it, and then Angela, Stephanie, and Ben, the people that we read the Realm of the Eldlings with. So hopefully you're interested in any of those. Otherwise, we are talking about Empire of Gold. A great end to the series. However, also the weakest book in the trilogy for me. This is going to be an interesting thing to talk about because it's fair to say I gave the book 4 stars. I still massively enjoyed it. There's just very specific things to me that are different than the first 2 books that changed the quality, in my opinion. There's also a decision made that of a particular character I hate read for most of the book. While loving everything else. So, for those who are non-spoilers, 100% recommend the David trilogy. I still think it's a great... What is Maisie doing? She's smelling books right now. She looks like me when I go to the bookstore and get a nice tasty new haul. I still recommend the David trilogy wholeheartedly. Book 2, especially, is fantastic. Just in terms of building on the world. It's full of fantastic character arcs, full of fascinating political machinations. The writing that Chakraborty does, the trust that she has in the audience to be able to put together what she's doing, it was a real testament to a great first series from an author. Yeah, the first book, loved it, great introduction. Second book builds on it, and the third one does complete and deliver a satisfying ending. Like, it is solid, but I did give it 4 stars. Like, let's not get this wrong. 4 stars is a great rating. I greatly enjoyed the book. I just didn't love it like I did the first 2. And yeah, to cite the particular things, there is one character that I found myself hate reading them. I wished that we had the same way that book 2 introduces a new perspective, and that added a layer of depth. I was hoping book 3 would further just add a couple, and I think that would have greatly increased the nuance and the scope of the finale. Instead, we continue to focus on certain characters, and one of those is frustrating to say the least. He is someone that needs to shit or get off the pot, essentially. No other way to put it. I found him deeply frustrating. And alongside that, the thing that I loved about book 2 is that it laid little threads that the audience could put together, and Chakraborty had enough belief in the audience to know that we could put that together. So there were little things that you could guess slightly beforehand, just because she'd done such a good job of creating the society, the characters, the political spectrum, the social spectrum, all these things that there were little drops that you could be like, oh, I think this is going to happen. And then it does, and you feel satisfied because you haven't been told that's going to happen. You have been led there. The Empire of Gold, by virtue of how much it's trying to fit, this book is already 700 and something pages long. It's bigger than the other ones by far. And it feels like it could be even more. because there are certain scenes in this book where that don't happen in the other ones, where something is referenced to then have a revelation in the next chapter about said thing. And that felt like that was like being told what to expect rather than led to creating your own expectation of being led to it, which is a very small difference, but it's the difference between, to me, a great book and a good book. And I understand book threes are extremely difficult to land. That's inevitably the case with a lot of books. I feel like she had the ideas of a great ending, but her actual writing style, I don't know whether it had to be delivered quicker, whether she had less time on it. I don't know what, or whether there's a general kind of it feels like it could do with another edit to remove some of the telling and then have it rely more on the showing, which I know is like a taboo term, but like that is truly the thing that I enjoyed about book 1 and 2 so well, is that it told you relevant information that it could then show you the outcome, whereas this tells you the outcome, like what's going to happen essentially. So a lot more signposting. So in terms of non-spoiler, they are my critiques, alongside the fact that this is a greatly enjoyable, satisfying conclusion to the trilogy, and does place it as a great series in my opinion. Maybe not one of my favourites. I think if the third book had been of the quality of the second book, I think it would have entered that upper echelons. Instead, this is like if I have like a list of favourites, this is going to be in the top like maybe 30%, maybe 35%. Like it is a strong showing. But the idea of doing this is the fact that as we go along, it gets more spoiler related. So I am going to end it there for non-spoiler thoughts. I hope you pick up the series. I do strongly recommend it. I think it's brilliant, honestly. I think Chakraborty created such a brilliant society, and had such a level of understanding of the inner politics that it just comes to life effortlessly. And I know it's effortlessly by virtue of the fact of how much effort went in, but it does feel like this world exists and she's just chronicling it. So massive plaudits. And now get out. This is spoiler time. Time for the cool people who read it to be left to rummage through the aftermath. So as I've been rambling, this is your warning to get out. So in 5 seconds, we're going to be done, and we will go from there. I'm going to immediately say, now that we're in spoilers, I loved being back in Egypt. The opening of this book with Nari and Ali in Egypt, traveling through, that was so enjoyable. I absolutely loved it. Her them having no magic, Ali relying on Nari getting back and being back in Egypt and being part of the apothecary, and having that cast of characters back and everything there. I love the fact that we touch on, like, it's not just forgotten in terms of what happened before she left. It's very particularly like, yo, you need to be careful. Like, people are going to be questioning this shit. And I love all of that. I really felt like it slowed the pace down. It allowed us to be like, these are now who these characters are. This is where we're at. They have a development outside of their society. It's a wonderful commentary on the idea of not staying in one place, the need to leave somewhere to be able to come back as a new person, and with a new understanding, a new acceptance, a new cultural understanding. Loved that. So the beginning of the book is a tale of two cities, as it were, because Egypt, fantastic. Dara is the problem. And I know it seems like Dara is a loved but beloved character. I hated reading Dara for a lot of this book, and his character is rewritten in a sense to make you want to have more sympathy for him at certain points. He's deeply unlikable, and so I found myself frustrated with how much time we were spending with him, where he's like, "Oh, maybe I don't want to help Manazar, but she is my Nahid and stuff." I was just like, "You fucking loser!" And then they rewrite him where he's only like 18 when he commits the scourge. I don't think the age helped in any way. You know, either you need to be a religious zealot who is a literal child, or you need to be a religiously manipulated and indoctrinated person. Either of those. And even in both of those cases, the actions he's done prior in this series, the beliefs we know he holds, will never forgive, because we know that that continues. He still has these thoughts, and so I found Dara a repulsive read. Whether that's meant to be the case, I do not know. It seemed like we were genuinely meant to have sympathy for him for large parts of the book, and in terms of the ending we have, it's kind of as close to a satisfying end we could have for him. Personally, this is just personally, there's a part at the end of the book, I thought Dara was going to, he turns on Manazar. There's a part where I genuinely thought he was going to kill himself, which is a thing that is ruminated on through a lot of the book. The idea of like, he just wants to die. And I personally think that enough in this book is done and throughout this series to mirror Ali and Dara, in the sense of Ali goes to Egypt. He's in a city which is unrelated to what's happening. His family are in danger. At that point, we know that Dara commits the scourge. So there is a direct comparison between how Ali reacts and how Ali wants to look after his family and the journey he goes on compared to Dara. Dara, in my opinion, is the dark shadow in the sense of what can happen. There's two ways to go. Dara has gone the unfortunate route. So there's no need to redeem Dara. There's no need to sympathize with him. So I think that the book does a great job to reach an ending where we have this kind of unwillingness to face what he's done, because he is constantly kind of forgiving himself and questioning whether he should feel shame or whether he is just a weapon. And I think I personally think that an ending of him avoiding judgment because he knows that he has done wrong would have been just as satisfying to me as for other people having him redeem himself would be. Because I think I think that you could do both. I think he redeems himself by challenging Manazar and turning, but also is still the same character he's been, which is kind of an avoiding responsibility character. And I think that would have been an interesting bridge to have the audience navigate. So that's my personal spiel on Dara. He is the weak part of this book, in my opinion. I said to Grace, I would have loved if for half of Dara's storyline, because we only see one perspective in Daevabad, and I would have loved to have seen half of the perspective of Dara split, and to instead be with Ali's sister. Forgot her name. It's been a month since I read this, and I'm terrible at remembering things. I'm going to remember, I apologise, but because we know that the Jazeeris have cordoned off this area, and they're kind of having the schism in the city in the sense of rebelling and that kind of thing. And I would have loved to have seen the oppressor and the oppressed reversed, and actually seen both sides, and her having to take charge, and the relationship with the people that Ali was with in the second book, and how she kind of brings them on board and they start working together. That would have been fantastic to me. It would have broadened the book, which I understand in terms of a page count could be different, but I don't think enough is done with Dara to justify all of his page counts. So I think you could half that and then just add this extra nuance, this extra dimension of the Jazeeris now being in a position of being genocided on, having that reversal of how to feel. I think that the thing that this series did so well up until the last book necessarily is a depth of emotion. There's a sense of the reader has to navigate the multiple layers of conflict and devastation and feelings that surround all of this. And the third book, because we only see like a certain sides, it kind of narrows that view. Yeah, that's another thing where I know that this is not the book that we got, so I can't really complain, but it's just there are little things where I'm like, I feel like this could have been bigger and stronger with the writing that we had previously. Everything to do with Nari and Ali, loved it. I loved them in Egypt. I loved them in Ayanle. I loved their Ali in terms of his relationship with what we discovered to be his father. I love the fact that the this story expands in that sense, that we now have this kind of central conflict of the Ifrit versus Marid. There we go. The Ifrit and the Marid. I found that fascinating, that there was this kind of overarching conflict that has occurred far outside of the pre-existing scope that we already had, beyond the idea of the Jazeeri and the Nahid and everything like that. There is this older conflict. I love Hatsit. Hatsit is one of my favourite characters from the series. I love Ali with Hatsit. I really loved Nari and Hatsit. Jamshid was great. I really liked Jamshid's change in terms of his after the fact of what's happened to him and him discovering his true identity and stuff. There is a sense of quick acceptance from him. I know it needs to happen. This is another example of the sometimes third books, by nature of the fact that you so far away, you don't know how much needs to be in it, and the ideas constantly evolve and grow, that there is a sense that I'm like, this book could have been 1,000 pages. This book could have been 2 500-page books. So everything that I kind of talk about where I'm like, oh, we could have a little more, we could have a little more. That's comes from that sense. Manazar, let's get into Manazar. She was fascinating. I really liked Manazar as this kind of central villain. Person who has always been this way. I like her character as the sense of this person who is constantly mongering for power and how she justifies certain things in her head. And how there are certain things that are revealed in this book that's interesting, because there's a sense of righteousness in the fact that she is mistreated at certain points, and her response to that is righteous in the sense of like, fuck you type thing. But then she also uses that to rationalize and justify far overreaching what the recompense should be, which you can go into the idea of justifying genocide, justifying some of the most barbaric things that humans can do to each other, the erasure of a people. Yeah, there is that. Like I said, there's a nuance there. There's a level of, you struggle with these characters because you can understand the twisted logic, you can understand the bizarre thought processing, and I think she's fascinating for that reason. It's the reason why Dara feels more, in my opinion, whiny, undecided, and I know that's the point, but I think he's had thousands of years. He's committed horrific murders, horrendous acts throughout that time. And I just was never invested in the idea of him redeeming himself in any way. And if he did, why would I give a shit? What, he was horny over a fucking teenager? And so he was like, oh, I guess I don't want to commit genocide anymore. Just, yeah, Dara was not it for me. When he goes and, he flies in to save his person, like, his friend who's the archer, I didn't really care. I thought it was a kind of weak battle scene. Like, there's just things with Dara were the weakest. Apart from when he's with Muntadir, because Muntadir is a great character, someone with a lot of nuance and interest, and he's another example of that great shifting. Like, he's acting one way, but he's doing the other. It's fantastic. I loved Muntadir in this book. As someone who's frustrated with him in book 2 because of the character he was, book 3, he was everything I wanted from that kind of character. Someone that I can dislike and like at the same time. It was being written for people who couldn't accept what Dara actually is. You know what I mean? Dara didn't deserve a happy ending. He didn't deserve an ending, in my opinion. He is a monster, be it a used one or not. Like, you know, people who committed crimes like the Holocaust, even if it's the just following orders, it's the Nuremberg laws. Like, we literally have laws around that. The idea of, like, you can't just use the excuse of I was just following orders. I wish that we'd have lent into the weakness of that argument more, but we didn't. Alas, that's why the book's 4 stars for me, honestly. It's just Dara. If Dara was written differently, it would be a 5-star, and this series would be one of my favourites. Instead, Dara was frustrating. There's a reason I've spoken about him the most. I know it's annoying because I did love everyone else, and I would love to go into it more, but Dara is someone that I just think about all the time because I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on Dara. Whether you loved him, whether you hated him, whether you think I'm chatting up my ass, I don't know. I don't mind. I'd love to hear people's thoughts because he is someone that just plagues me. But I do think that's everything I'm going to say on the book. Now that we're kind of here for the ending, 4 stars. This was a great series. So we had a 4.5, a 5. No, we had 2 4.5s and a 4. That's top tier. That's banger. Really enjoyed it. Thank you to the Patreons for choosing the David Bad trilogy to be read. I look forward to when we do the next Patreon buddy read and what will be chosen. I have a feeling it will probably be the Dandelion Dynasty, just by virtue of how many people want me to read that in the Patreon. But if you want to get involved with that, then it is there in the description as always. Please let me know your thoughts on Empire of Gold. I'd love to hear any suggestions for new series to check out. If not, have a nice rest of your day.